I would like to tell you a small piece of my life story so I can share with you why I became a doctor. I've always loved science and medicine. My household was full of, let's say, engineers and geologists, so science was part of the talk at the table. Albeit that my mother and father both were raised on farms in Oklahoma, hard-working farm families. What does that mean? It means honesty, it means practical, and it means straightforward. And I've been accused of being a straight shooter myself. My mother was a naturopath at heart, and she had us eating very healthy before it was even popular to do so. She read a lot. She educated herself. She wanted whatever was best for the health of her family, and that meant food, nutrition. We were eating yogurt, and my friends thought I was the strangest person they knew because we were eating yogurt in our household. So, natural and healthy lifestyle and food was part of what I grew up with as well. Those who knew me in high school knew me as the arts person. They senior year voted me most talented. I was professionally playing violin, piano, guitar. I was ballet dancing. I was a gymnast. Uh, Taught all of these things at some point, and so very much loved theater and loved entertaining. I loved giving good information or good feelings to people. Now I understand that's what I was attracted to for the most part. And for many years, I did that, and I taught those for many years. I went to college and I got my bachelor's degree, and that was what do I want to do? Do I want to go back to this passion for science and healthy living? Do I want to bring in this education piece and be able to use my talents to be able to tell a story and enjoy doing so? And I did get an undergraduate degree that was along that line, and I had a minor in psychology because I knew and I still know the power of the mind and how that affects our body, our emotional state, our physical state, and that it was a very interesting piece of us. Got my minor in that, but then a life story that I will tell you at a later date pulled me into a big media spotlight. And that attracted me again in the sense that I needed to right wrongs, and the way to do that would be able to voice it and have people hear it. So, my master's degree, I quickly switched from psychology into television broadcasting. I had several years very successful. I was started as a reporter and became an anchor, and had my own television talk shows with NBC, ABC, and CBS, and had a ball doing it. It was very exciting. However, there was a point. I remember standing in front of someone and asking them, and I knew they weren't going to be able to give me full sentences very well. They were in a distraught state, and I thought, I've got to get the sound bite. So I had to ask the question, tell me how you feel now that your home has just burned down. And I remember my stomach rolled in that moment. And I got a good sound bite. I got what my news director would have been happy with, but I wasn't happy. And I thought, what am I doing? This is not the kind of information or the information I want to bring forward, and it's not helping people feel better or feel happy. I got out of the television business. I had a promising career, and there were parts that I enjoyed, but there was something missing. Now, don't ask me why I somehow scooted into politics, but I did. Helped run several campaigns and was very active in that. But again, in that arena, a lot of smoke and mirrors. And remember the Oklahoma background of straight talking, say it like it is. You can't quite do that in politics. And if you do, you better have a real thick shell. And that wouldn't have been so hard, except for the fact that to play that game, again, it felt a little bit like the news business. So I drew away from the politics as well. Now, through another life story, I started working with a nutritionist and a trainer that was training professional athletes. And he was also working with people with their health challenges, people that hadn't been helped by modern medicine. So, in watching him work, I got very excited about that. Because of my dance and gymnastics background, I became an ACE certified trainer and started delving into that, saying, this is exciting. Look, people are getting better just by changing their food, by their exercise programs, and giving them hope and giving them motivation. So, that was very, very exciting. But I knew there was something more. Remember that science side, something drawing me to something more. When my son at 5 to 7 years old was getting college credit, yes, that's what I just said. At 5 to 7 years old, I was driving him to the college campus to get credit and to take classes. I found out that there was a naturopathic medical degree, that you could become a doctor and be licensed in both traditional medicine and alternative. And that's when I said, that's it. I get it. I understand now. This is where I want to be. And so for those 2 years of me I had my master's degree, but I still needed 2 more years of pre-med. Talk about a lot of determination at that point. But I was on the same campus most of the time as my son anyway, so it worked out really well. I went back to college, and he continued to do his studies at that point, and we had a great time. Now, my first semester of medical school, there was a lot going on with the school itself and also in my family. My mother, the very healthy mother with no health problems, she had a congenital problem, one little valve that wasn't quite right, that just needed to be worked on a little bit. But there was a medical mistake that happened in that procedure. I was in the room when it was happening. They were utilizing tools that weren't made for a little small person like her. Now I know what happened. But she had a massive stroke and 4 lobes. And a neurologist came to tell my father and I about this. And he said, if she survives, which I doubt she will, but if she does, she'll be in a vegetative state. She will never know her family. She will not know you. She will not be able to feed herself, care for herself, and there was no neurological activity, and this is not what we should wish for her. And I remember looking at that neurologist, and I said, have you been in the patient's room, and have you only looked at the scans? And he said, I only need to see the scans. I know what I see. And it taught me right then, you must look at the patient, because I knew what I was seeing in that room with my mother. And I challenged him a little bit, and I said, she is looking at me. She is making a connection with me. I know my mother. And he said, no, that's brainstem activity. It's just tracking. I didn't know enough then, because remember, I was only a month into basic sciences, but I know now that he probably thought that's what it was. And there was a lot of that going on, I'm sure. But what was also going on, my mother was communicating with me in a different way, and I knew she was. And I knew she was there. And I asked the question, my father and I asked the question, do you want to live? Do you want to survive? Do you want to work through this? And I said, give me a sign, and she squeezed my hand. So we got to work, but the first thing we had to do was get her out of the ICU that she'd been in for 2 months, 2 more months in the hospital, and finally we said, we are tired of hearing that she can't get better, that she's never going to get better. She's got to learn to live with the state that she's in. And at that point, she was awake. She knew what was going on. And she had aphasia. She couldn't speak, but she would say no, no, no to them when they told her, you're never going to do this. You're never going to do that. That was the only time I saw her crying. And I said, we're out of here. There's got to be a better way. We found hyperbaric oxygen and cold lasers. And that is what allowed my mother to walk, to begin cooking and have a quality of life and go with friends and go to the gym and work out and do the things that she did, even with slight deficits, but had a great quality of life. And it was the neurological repair that could happen. We were being told that the brain had no stem cells, so there's no way it could happen. Well, it happened. And now we know many years later that yes, there is neurogenesis and things can happen in repair. But her quality of life was there, and it taught me then, this is the area of medicine, the areas of medicine I'm most interested in. Well, I had 2 years that I had to learn the basic sciences. Loved it. I like anatomy, physiology. In fact, by the end of our medical school, of our beginning graduating class, I was number one academically. I liked all the hard sciences. But what I wasn't learning were the pieces that I knew that had gotten my mother better. And so most of the time, every break or every weekend that we would get in medical school, my colleagues were doing what you're supposed to do, which is take a break. Well, I was off traveling the world, studying with people from all over the world, trying to learn more about these modalities that I knew that were not going to be part of my curriculum. And I learned a lot. And I learned a lot about frequency in bioenergetic medicine and the power of the body when the mindset is there. I ended up at lecturing and teaching physicians for many years in laser physics and in frequency medicine. In fact, my mentor, Dr. Bill Tiller, was the head of the physics department at Stanford for 40 years. He is still emeritus professor. And he and I would lecture together on laser physics, but he taught me far more than that. He taught me that what meditation could do and the power that could be done in a meditative state beyond just the frequency devices that we were working with. And I still continue to love Bill and hope that we're going to have him for many years to come. At this point, I have lectured all over the world, many foreign countries, teaching therapeutic injections. Yes, I like needles and I like frequency. Why would we say we have to do one or the other? Why not the best of both worlds? That little underlying, I might want to be a surgeon at the beginning of medical was, cardiovascular or neurosurgeon. Those surgeries make sense to me, and some orthopedic surgeries, but I'm glad that I went the different direction because I would have been stuck in the mechanical side of getting better instead of all of the wonderful other things that we can bring to medicine. And my greatest honor has been for more than 18 years working with patients and my clients. And I say clients just to define that, people who can't be in Arizona or come to Arizona to be a physical patient, they can be a client, and I get to work with them virtually all over the world and give them the advice that I'm giving my patients anyway. And I've done that for many, many years, and my greatest lessons have come from my patients. And when other physicians ask me to coach them or to work with them, and they say, how do you get people better? And I say, you listen. You learn to really listen, because if you keep asking the right questions, the patient has the answer. The root of the problem is there. We may still have to do some unique testing and other things to get there to understand the underlying mechanisms, but the answer is there with the patient. I developed a course at Arizona State University 20 years ago, and I'm still teaching it. It's called Ancient Healing Traditions for Modern Medicine. That's important here because not only do I teach naturopathy and homeopathy and traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, indigenous medicine, music and the power of placebo, which is real, and that DNA, and I love the genetics, but it's not our destiny. And I'm teaching this to doctors and nurses and social workers because the class, they come in saying, I need to know a little bit about these kinds of things because all these people I'm working with, patients and clients, are coming in and they're tapping in and utilizing some of these things, and I don't know what they are. By the end of the class, by the end of the 6 weeks, they understand so much, and they've tried a few of the things that many of them have said that it has changed their lives and their families' lives to a great extent. And that's been an honor as well, getting them to be able to open up their mindset to say there is a lot more here in healing than just our traditional medicine. And knowing that all of those all of those ancient traditions, what do they all have in common? Working with the mind, the body, and the spirit. Yes, I'm saying spirit, and spirituality is something that we're taught, probably is kind of taboo to talk about in medicine. We need to change that. It is a big piece of who we are. No matter what your belief system is, feeling spiritually connected to something greater than yourself is one of the greatest healing modalities and tools out there. All the other things, good physicians, we can get there. We're good diagnosticians most of the time. But if you're spiritually, emotionally, and mentally not in a good spot, your physical body is not going to respond the way that we want it to. Now, I bridge conventional and alternative medicine every day. I work with both systems. It's not one or the other, and it should not be a battle between the two. I collaborate with oncologists all over the world because a lot of my expertise at this point is in immune system and in oncology because of a metabolic theory of the metabolic theory of cancer. Many of you have watched me on Gaia TV. I've spoken about that on there many times and other podcasts, and I'll be doing more about it because I'm in connection with the leading researchers in the world in those metabolic therapies. And traditional oncologists are interested. They're working with me. When we get an open-minded oncologist with a patient, we can do really wonderful things together. And that's exciting. And being able to let them understand that bridging the science and the spirituality is something that I will be doing for true healing at all levels. And we'll be looking at alternative and traditional care, whether it's heart disease, your weight, whatever it is, your hormones, you've got to bridge both of it, and then we'll have some wonderful results. Now, this video was very good for me to make. My journey has been long, and it has at times been arduous, but I am so grateful for the knowledge and the wisdom that I have from all of that effort and all of the wonderful people that I've been able to work with for many, many years. And remembering that my greatest teachers have been my patients. Physician and doctor means healer and teacher. We have forgotten that in medicine. So now, the educational ability, take my television background and theater background, take that and say, now let's use real information that really can help people in their lives. And my passion and purpose has turned there. And I want you to help me with this, those of you that are listening. I have a tribe, and I love those of you that are already in my tribe, but it needs to be bigger. And I really want to be able to share the unique and novel information that I can bring forward with as many people as possible. So I'm going to ask you to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe and tell your friends about it, Facebook, all of those things. And if you want to get an in-depth written part, and some of the videos will be in a weekly newsletter every Sunday that I will be sending out, Dr. Worden's Prescription for Health. And it will give you practical and applicable things that you can do for your health right now. So I'm very excited, and I'm ready for this educational push. Yes, I'm still going to continue to see patients and clients. I'm being selective in who I see at this point to make sure that I have enough time to reach more people. I have a book and I have a new television show that will allow us to have the conversation, even if it turns into a little bit of a debate between traditional medicine and alternative medicine, because my role is in the middle, as always. There's weaknesses and strengths on both sides, and you, as the listener, needs to hear both sides at once, not hiding one from the other, one type of doctor from another. And nor should you be being pushed to choose between the two. It's about the best of both. What do we know? What do we not know? And what do you need to know to be able to make your best decisions? So please follow me, become part of my tribe, and let's have fun together. Take care and be happy.